The number of students that drop out of high school has reached an astronomical level. According to a study titled High School Dropout Statistics, published by Education Week, about 8,300 students drop out of high school each day. Without a high school diploma or GED, a person's chance of becoming successful is cut drastically. If the government altered the law so that students were required to pursue their education until they got at least a high school diploma or GED, students may have more career opportunities as well as the chance to make more money in their future. Because there are so many positive aspects to completing a high school education, the United States should require that all students earn at least a high school diploma or GED before ending their education. While there are a number of problems that students face when they decide to quit pursuing their education, there are also negative side effects for the United States as a whole. One of the first problems that the United States faces due to the number of high school dropout rates is a high rate of undereducation. Many students are dropping out of high school before they get their diploma, causing them to be undereducated. Finding a decent paying job without at least a high school education is becoming increasingly difficult as more and more people are deciding to go on to higher education after high school. Undereducation means that you may not have the qualifications it takes to get a job that gives you enough money to support yourself as well as your family. According to research done by Education Week, high school graduates on average earn about $260,000 less than high school graduates do. That's enough money for a family to buy a house or even to pay for a good number of students to go on to get a bachelor's degree after they finish high school. The same research study also discovered that high school dropouts are not eligible for 90% of the jobs available in the United States. That leaves only 10% of all the jobs in America for high school dropouts to choose from. Simply getting a high school diploma opens many career options as well as providing jobs with higher incomes. According to an article written by Emily Richmond, 1.8 million students left high school without getting a diploma. Of those students, 1.2 million of them are not employed. That means that 66% of high school dropouts in the United States aren't currently employed. If the United States required students to finish high school or get a GED, the issue of undereducation would begin to disappear and employment rates may rise. Another problem the United States faces as a result of children dropping out of high school is an increase in the number of people turning to illegal activities as a way to make money. Children who are not in school often turn to illegal activities as a way of life since their options for employment are limited. According to an article by Sherry Stewart titled Facts About the High School Dropout Rate, 75% of all prison inmates are high school dropouts. She also mentions in the same article that 80% of inmates are illiterate. So those statistics right there show that there's a direct correlation between being incarcerated and being illiterate. So if there was no relation between the two, then there wouldn't be such a big overlap. If the United States required students to finish their high school education, students may turn away from illegal activity as a way of life and instead pursue jobs that put their education to the test. By using their education in order to make a career for themselves, the incarceration rate may go down and the government could save millions of dollars each year. In order to assure that students stay in school, there are different things that we, as citizens of this country, can do. First, members of different communities should write to their local school boards about their concerns of having an undereducated youth. The more people voice their concerns, the more likely school boards all over the U.S. will be to take action. If school boards, or even further the government, do not think that we as a community are concerned about students getting an education, then they'll be less likely to spend their time on trying to find solutions to what has become a massive problem. If we spend time trying to press how important it is that each student receive a proper education by getting a high school diploma or GED, we may be able to influence the people who have the ability to make a difference to do so. Another, more intimate way we can influence students to stay in school is to become involved in the schools in our local school district. Whether it be by joining the PTA, attending the annual fundraiser at your local school, or tutoring a student for a couple hours a week. It's important to be a part of the education process. The more involved we become, then the more likely we are to voice our concerns to parents, teachers, school board members, or anyone who's present at those events to make a difference. A study called The Dropout Dilemma, done by Carleton College, discovered that almost 40% of students dropped out of high school just because they weren't doing well in their classes. So if you were able to tutor a student for a couple hours a week, you may be able to give them the help they need in order to do well in their classes, and you might be able to influence them to stay in school until they graduate. Another reason you should become involved is because you can save yourself and the government lots of money. According to the Dropout Dilemma, in 2001, 40% of young people without a high school diploma received some form of government assistance. As taxpayers, those are our dollars being spent on people who decided not to finish their high school education regardless of what their reason was for dropping out. If our involvement in the education process could encourage students to stay in school, we could be saving the government millions of dollars each year. If the government sees our efforts making a change in the community and they see the cost of government assistance programs going down, they may be encouraged to make even more reforms to ensure that each student receives a proper education. So in conclusion, if the government required all students to earn a high school diploma or GED before stopping their career as a student, there could be many positive outcomes, not only for that student, but for the country as a whole. Employment rates would rise, the student may have more opportunities to make money, incarceration rates would decrease, and illiteracy rates would rise. All of these things are positive changes that could be made, but a crucial part of the process is becoming involved. Whether it be by contacting your school board by writing a letter, or becoming actively involved in the schools in your community, it is crucial that the public become aware of the massive problems that result from students dropping out of school. Once people become involved, they may be able to start making a difference, and changing the law could be the first step in changing the lives for students across the country.